Your mind was never meant to rule you, it was meant to serve you. Yet most people live as prisoners inside their own thoughts, obeying impulses they don't understand and emotions they can't control. They wake up each day driven by habit, reacting to circumstances as if they are powerless, surrendering to moods as if they are commands. But the truth is, the mind is a tool, and like every tool, it becomes dangerous when left untrained. A wild mind is a master that destroys its owner. A disciplined mind is a servant that builds an empire. You were given the most powerful instrument in the universe, your brain. But without control, it works against you. It convinces you to quit when you should persist, to fear when you should act, to procrastinate when you should rise. It whispers the language of comfort when greatness demands discomfort. And until you learn to govern it, you will always find yourself at war with your own potential. Your mind follows what you believe to be true. When you tell yourself you cannot do something, your mind becomes loyal to that belief and starts searching for reasons to justify it. When you tell yourself you are capable, it obeys with equal faith. It builds pathways in your brain to support that truth. The mind does not argue with you, it accepts your commands. If you repeat defeat, it will create defeat. If you repeat victory, it will create victory. Most people do not lack talent or opportunity. They lack mastery over the thoughts that lead them forward or hold them back. They speak to themselves as if they are weak, and so weakness becomes their reality. But the one who speaks to himself with purpose, with strength, with faith, soon finds that his mind bends the world to his will. To rewire your brain to obey you, you must begin by observing it. Watch your thoughts like a guard at a gate. Each day, thousands of thoughts enter your mind, some empowering, some destructive, but you decide which ones stay. The undisciplined mind entertains every visitor. The disciplined mind chooses only those thoughts that serve its purpose. You must train your brain the same way you would train a muscle, through repetition, focus, and resistance. Every time you reject a thought of fear and replace it with one of courage, you are rewiring your brain for power. Every time you act despite doubt, you strengthen your command over it. Discipline is not about silencing your mind, it's about teaching it to speak a new language, one of control, patience, and certainty. There will be days when your mind rebels, when it tells you that you're tired, that it's pointless, that it's too hard. And in that moment, you must stand firm. You must remember that your thoughts are not facts, they are suggestions. You have the right to accept or reject them. When your mind says, I can't, you can respond, I will. When it says, stop, you can whisper back, just one more step. Over time, those small victories become a new identity. You begin to see yourself not as the servant of your emotions, but as their commander. You begin to act out of decision instead of desire. That is the first step toward freedom. The moment you realize you are not your thoughts, you are the thinker. Most people never experience that freedom because they confuse comfort with peace. They let their mind lead them toward ease, not growth. But ease is deceptive. It dulls your strength, it feeds your fears, it keeps you small. Peace, on the other hand, is found in mastery. When your mind serves you, even challenges feel calm because you are no longer controlled by them. You stop fearing the storm because you have learned to steer your ship. That is the kind of peace discipline gives, not the absence of struggle, but control within it. You must train your mind each day, just as a warrior sharpens his sword before battle. The first hour of your day is the most sacred because it sets the rhythm for your mind. If you begin with distractions, your mind will chase chaos all day. If you begin with focus, silence, gratitude, vision, your mind will follow your command. Thoughts, when repeated, become habits, and habits shape destiny. The brain learns by pattern, and every time you choose to direct your attention with purpose, you strengthen the neural pathways of discipline. Eventually, your brain begins to crave structure, effort, and consistency. What once felt difficult becomes natural, even joyful, because the mind learns to find pleasure in progress rather than comfort. There is power in remembering that your mind serves whatever identity you give it. If you believe you are a victim, your mind will collect evidence to prove it. If you believe you are powerful, it will gather strength from every challenge you face. The brain seeks to protect whatever story you tell it, so tell it a story worth living. Tell it you are strong, capable, determined. Tell it you will not stop until your purpose is fulfilled. Speak it, think it, act on it, and soon your brain will not only obey you but empower you. The process is not instant. You will fall back into old patterns at times, but each time you correct your mind, You carve a new path in the landscape of your brain. Each time you reject weakness, you lay a stone on the road to mastery. The journey of self-discipline is not a war you fight once. It is a lifelong alliance between your spirit and your mind. The stronger your command becomes, the more peace you find within yourself. And when that day comes, when you can tell your mind to rise, and it rises, to be still, and it obeys, you will understand true freedom. Because freedom is not doing whatever you feel like, it's having the power to do what must be done, even when you don't feel like it. The mind that once ruled you now kneels before you ready to serve. It no longer drags you into fear or laziness or regret. It stands beside you as a trusted companion, following your commands, shaping your world, creating your destiny. That is when you will realize that mastery over the mind is not just the key to discipline, it is the key to life itself. Discipline is not a punishment, it is the highest expression of self-love. Most people hear the word discipline and immediately think of restriction, of saying no, of missing out, of effort that feels heavy and joyless. They associate it with control, with rules, with sacrifice. But that is because they have never truly understood what it means. Discipline is not about limiting your life, it is about creating the space for a greater life to unfold. It is not the cage that traps you, it is the key that frees you from the chaos of your impulses. It is not the enemy of joy, it is the foundation that allows joy to last. When you discipline yourself, you are not being harsh, you are being kind to the person you are becoming. You are saying, I love myself enough not to let my temporary feelings destroy my permanent potential. The undisciplined person lives like a leaf in the wind, blown by every mood, every distraction, every whim of comfort or fear. They wake up full of intentions, yet their day slips away, lost to impulses and excuses. They wish for better, but they are slaves to what feels easy. They mistake indulgence for freedom, but indulgence only chains the soul. The disciplined person, on the other hand, is steady. They do not need motivation to act. Their actions are born from decision, not desire. They have built a foundation within themselves strong enough to withstand temptation, fatigue, and doubt. They do not live reacting to life, they live creating it. That is the quiet power of discipline. It turns chaos into clarity, noise into focus, and effort into progress. When you love yourself, truly love yourself, you do not let your lower self win. You do not let laziness steal your potential. You do not let comfort rob you of greatness. You do not let procrastination speak louder than purpose. Discipline is the voice of love that whispers, you deserve better than this. It is not a voice of judgment but of care. It says, I will not abandon you when it gets hard. It keeps you moving when your emotions beg you to stop. It guides you back when your distractions try to lead you astray. Without discipline, love for yourself is only words, but with discipline, it becomes action. Think of a parent who loves their child. That love does not allow the child to eat only sweets or stay up all night or skip every challenge. That love sets boundaries, not out of cruelty, but out of care. It knows that comfort destroys growth. The same is true of the love you must have for yourself. You cannot say you want success and then feed your mind with excuses. You cannot say you value health and then abandon your body to laziness. You cannot say you seek purpose and then waste your hours on meaningless pleasure. Love without discipline is weakness in disguise. True love, the kind that transforms your life, demands that you hold yourself accountable. Many run from discipline because they see only its pain. They do not see its gift. Yes, discipline requires sacrifice, but that sacrifice is temporary. The rewards are lasting. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Discipline asks for effort now so that you may live free later. It asks for patience today so that you may have peace tomorrow. It asks for structure now so that you can walk through chaos without fear. The undisciplined chase pleasure and end in pain. The disciplined endure momentary pain and find lasting peace. It is the great paradox of life that those who seek only comfort suffer the most, and those who embrace discomfort become the most fulfilled. Discipline rewires your brain to find satisfaction not in avoidance but in achievement. At first, it feels unnatural because your mind has been trained to crave the easy path. But as you persist, your brain begins to associate effort with reward, challenge with growth, and consistency with pride. You begin to feel alive not when things are easy, but when you are pushing forward despite resistance. That shift is the essence of self-mastery. When your brain stops fighting discipline and begins to crave it, the same actions that once felt like struggle become rituals of power. You no longer force yourself to act, you look forward to it, because you have connected discipline with the feeling of becoming your best self. Discipline is also the language of faith. Every time you show up for yourself, even when results are invisible, you are declaring belief in your potential. You are saying, "I trust that this effort will lead me somewhere greater." Each disciplined act is a silent prayer, a promise that you are not giving up. It builds your character quietly, layer by layer, until one day you look in the mirror and realize that you have become the person you always dreamed of being. That transformation doesn't happen in a single moment of inspiration. It happens through 1,000 small moments of discipline that no one sees. Discipline is not a punishment you endure, it is a gift you give yourself. It gives you strength when motivation fades, direction when life feels uncertain, and confidence when doubt surrounds you. The disciplined do not need to chase validation because their peace comes from within. They know that their effort, their consistency, their persistence is proof enough of their worth. They find joy in knowing they are keeping the promises they made to themselves. They sleep peacefully not because life is easy, but because they are in control of their actions. So when you feel resistance rise within you, when your mind tells you to rest instead of rise, to delay instead of decide, remind yourself that discipline is not your enemy. It is your ally, your guardian, your compass. It is the love that holds you accountable, the power that pulls you out of mediocrity, the bridge between your dreams and your reality. The day you stop seeing discipline as punishment and start seeing it as love is the day your life begins to transform. Because then, every act of discipline becomes a declaration that you are worth the effort. It becomes proof that you have chosen growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, greatness over ease. And in that choice, made again and again, you discover the freedom and peace that only true discipline can give. Your brain is not fixed, it is alive, changing, adapting to everything you feed it. Every thought, every action, every emotion becomes a signal that shapes how it functions. Your brain is not who you are, it is what you train it to be. And the truth is, most people have unknowingly trained their brains to crave comfort, to seek the easy path, to run from discipline. They have repeated avoidance so often that their brain now rewards them for procrastination. It celebrates escape instead of endurance, distraction instead of focus. They believe they are lazy, but they are not. They are conditioned. Their brain has been wired for weakness through repetition, but the same process that created that pattern can create a new one, because your brain always follows what you feed it. The brain learns through association. Whatever you connect with pleasure, it will pursue. Whatever you connect with pain, it will avoid. This is why people struggle to stay consistent. They have linked effort to suffering and comfort to happiness. But comfort is a liar. It offers relief now and regret later. Discipline offers challenge now and peace later. The key is not to fight your brain, but to retrain it. You must begin to link pleasure to the process, pride to persistence, joy to growth. Every time you act with discipline, even in small ways, you are teaching your brain a new pattern, that fulfillment is not found in escape but in effort. You are programming it to crave progress instead of passivity. At first, it feels like resistance. Your old patterns will fight to survive. The brain does not enjoy change because change requires energy, and the brain seeks efficiency. It wants to repeat what it already knows, even if those patterns harm you. That's why the first days of discipline feel heavy, not because you are weak, but because your brain is still wired for the old reward system. But every time you push through, every time you keep your word, you are sending your brain a new message. This is who I am now. Slowly, the pain fades and the pride grows. The effort that once drained you begins to energize you. The things that once felt like chores start to feel like choices. The mind's wiring is like a path in a forest. The more you walk a path, the clearer it becomes. The paths you neglect become overgrown. Each habit you repeat, good or bad, becomes that path. If you feed yourself excuses, you carve a road toward regret. If you feed yourself discipline, you carve a road toward freedom. Your brain doesn't judge, it only follows the trails you reinforce. If you choose to sit down every time it's hard, that path becomes automatic. If you choose to stand up every time it's hard, that path becomes automatic too. The difference between failure and success is not willpower, it's which neural path you've strengthened the most. To rewire your brain for discipline, start small but be consistent. Your brain changes through repetition, not intensity. Doing something for 5 minutes every day builds more power than doing it for 5 hours once. Each small act of self-control, each promise kept, is a signal to your brain that discipline equals reward. Over time, your brain begins to expect the satisfaction that follows discipline, and that expectation becomes your new motivation. You stop needing to force yourself, because your mind begins to crave that feeling of progress the same way it once craved comfort. The habit that once required effort becomes part of your nature. You must also be conscious of what you consume mentally. Every word, every image, every piece of information you absorb feeds your brain. Garbage in, garbage out. It is not just a saying, it's neuroscience. If you feed your mind negativity, comparison, and fear, you wire your brain for doubt. But if you feed it inspiration, learning, and vision, you wire it for strength. Your brain does not know the difference between imagination and reality. It reacts to what it sees and hears. When you imagine success, when you visualize discipline, when you repeat affirmations of power, you are shaping your neural reality before it manifests physically. What you dwell on daily becomes the architecture of your mind. There is a moment in every transformation where the brain starts to shift. It happens quietly. One day the alarm goes off, and instead of debating whether to rise, you just rise. The workout you used to dread becomes a ritual of power. The habits that once felt forced now feel natural. That is the sign your brain has been rewired. It no longer associates discipline with punishment. It associates it with pride. That shift is the beginning of true freedom, because discipline stops being something you fight yourself to do. It becomes something you are drawn to. You begin to enjoy the challenge because your brain understands that struggle equals growth. Understand this: your brain exists to serve your goals, not to set them. You have to lead it. You must teach it what matters, what to value, what to seek. You are not its slave, you are its architect. If you want it to love discipline, you must feed it disciplined behavior until that becomes its natural state. You must show it through repetition that fulfillment lives on the other side of consistency. The brain learns by evidence. Give it evidence of your strength every day. Each small win, each moment of persistence, each quiet victory builds the proof your brain needs to trust you. When it sees that discipline creates reward, it stops fighting and starts helping. The truth is, discipline becomes enjoyable not when life gets easier, but when your brain learns that difficulty is a sign of growth, not danger. Once you teach it that, you stop running from challenge and start chasing it. You no longer dread the work, you crave it. You no longer see obstacles as punishment. You see them as the forge where your power is made. You begin to feel alive in the effort itself, because your mind finally understands that each disciplined act is a declaration of who you are becoming. The most powerful thing you can ever do is make your brain your ally. It will follow your commands faithfully once you show it what to value. You can train it to crave progress instead of pleasure, patience instead of distraction, persistence instead of comfort. That is how you rewire your brain for discipline, not by forcing it through fear, but by teaching it through repetition that discipline is not the enemy of joy, but the path to it. When that realization takes root, discipline stops being a battle and becomes a blessing. You no longer fight to stay consistent. You rise each day with quiet strength because your brain, your greatest servant, has learned to love the work that makes you unstoppable. Pain is the language of transformation, yet most people spend their lives running from it. They treat discomfort as a sign that something is wrong, when in truth it is a sign that something is changing. Every step toward greatness is paid for in discomfort, in the quiet suffering of growth, in the tension between who you are and who you are meant to be. Pain is not your enemy, it is your guide, your teacher, the messenger that whispers, "There is more within you than you have allowed yourself to see." But because pain hurts, the mind resists it. It looks for escape instead of understanding. And when you run from pain, you run from the very thing that was sent to make you stronger. The reason pain feels unbearable is because it forces you to face yourself. It strips away excuses, distractions, and illusions. It leaves you alone with your truth. The truth of your limits, your fears, and your strength. Most people never reach their potential because they never stay in the fire long enough to let it forge them. The fire of pain burns away weakness, but it also reveals your core. You cannot build a powerful mind or a disciplined life without first enduring the discomfort of breaking old patterns. That discomfort is not punishment, it is preparation. Every muscle must tear before it grows, and every mindset must be challenged before it expands. Discipline begins as pain because your old self is being dismantled. Your comfort, your habits, your fears, all of it resists change. Your mind was built to keep you safe, not successful. It doesn't care about your dreams, it cares about your comfort. When you start demanding more from yourself, your brain interprets that demand as danger. It floods you with doubt, fatigue, and excuses. It tells you to stop because it doesn't understand yet that you are not dying. You are evolving. This is the point where most people quit. They think the pain means they're doing something wrong, when in reality, it means they are finally doing something right. Pain is not a signal to stop, it's a sign to keep going. The path to discipline will test you. There will be mornings when your body aches, when your mind screams for rest, when every fiber of you wants to give in. But in that moment, you have a choice, to obey your feelings or to command them. Each time you choose action over avoidance, you teach your brain that discomfort is not to be feared. You begin to rewire your nervous system to find strength in struggle. Over time, the pain loses its power. It becomes familiar, even welcome, because you understand it now. You know it is shaping you into someone who can no longer be broken by small things. Pain has a purpose. It reveals the areas within you that are still weak, still untrained, still ruled by fear. When you learn to face it, you turn it into information. It becomes feedback, a teacher that shows you where to focus your effort. The undisciplined avoid pain and repeat the same mistakes endlessly. The disciplined study their pain and grow from it. They ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" One question builds character, the other builds excuses. The way you interpret pain determines whether it becomes your prison or your path. Think about every person you admire, every leader, every creator, every achiever. None of them reached greatness without pain. They were not born strong, they were forged strong. Their failures, rejections, losses, and moments of doubt were not detours, they were the way. They learned to take the energy of pain and turn it into purpose. The same pain that breaks some people builds others. The only difference is how they respond. The moment you stop running from pain and start learning from it, you unlock the greatest source of growth in your life. Pain becomes your compass, pointing you toward the places that matter most, the places that still need healing, effort, and strength. There is a strange beauty in pain when you stop resisting it. It strips you down to your essence and shows you what you are truly made of. In moments of deep struggle, the mask falls away. You meet yourself without pretense, without distraction, without illusion. You discover that strength is not the absence of pain, but the ability to move through it with faith. You begin to see that every difficult moment is shaping a version of you that will one day look back with gratitude, not resentment. You will understand that the pain you hated was the sculptor of your power. But to reach that point, you must stop numbing yourself. The modern world teaches you to avoid discomfort, to seek quick fixes, instant gratification, temporary pleasure. But every time you escape your pain, you delay your growth. You drown your lessons in noise and call it relief. You trade long-term peace for short-term distraction. True peace comes only after you face the storm. You cannot numb your way to fulfillment. You must earn it through confrontation, through courage, through the willingness to endure what others avoid. Pain will visit everyone, but suffering is optional. Suffering is what happens when you resist what pain is trying to teach. Pain itself is pure, it is a signal. Suffering is the story you attach to it, the belief that it should not be happening, that it is unfair, that you cannot handle it. The disciplined person does not resist reality. They accept it fully, then use it to grow. When you embrace pain as a teacher, suffering dissolves. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" That shift in mindset turns agony into awareness. One day, you will look back on the hardest seasons of your life and realize they were the most meaningful. The moments that felt unbearable were the ones that changed you the most. You will see that pain never came to destroy you. It came to reveal you. Every scar will become a story of strength. Every tear will become a seed of wisdom. And you will understand that without pain, there can be no growth, no depth, no mastery. Pain is the silent architect of your becoming, the invisible force that molds your character into something unshakable. When you finally learn to see pain as a signal of transformation rather than a punishment to escape, discipline becomes a joy instead of a burden. Because then you know that every moment of discomfort is a step toward expansion. Every challenge is proof that you are alive, that you are evolving, that you are becoming who you were meant to be. Pain loses its power to frighten you. You stop running from it and start walking with it. And in that moment, your life changes, because the person who no longer fears pain is the person who can achieve anything. The people who change their lives are not the ones who make promises when they feel inspired, but the ones who keep those promises when they no longer feel like it. Consistency is not about motivation, it is about devotion. It is the quiet decision to keep showing up, even when your heart is heavy, even when your energy is gone, even when the results are invisible. It is easy to act with passion for a day, a week, a month, but true transformation is born in the dull repetition of effort, in the discipline of doing what must be done long after the excitement fades. Every small act of consistency becomes a signal to your mind that you are serious about your future. You are telling yourself, I can be trusted. That trust becomes the foundation upon which self-belief is built. Most people never build consistency because they confuse it with perfection. They think if they miss a day, they have failed. They think if they can't do everything, they shouldn't do anything. But consistency is not about never falling, it's about never staying down. It is about momentum, about returning to your path over and over again until progress becomes your nature. You do not need to move fast, you only need to move forward. Even the smallest effort done daily compounds into something extraordinary. The greatest oak began as a fragile seed, nurtured by countless ordinary days of sun and rain. The power of consistency is not in how much you do, but in how often you do it. In the beginning, consistency feels forced. Your mind resists it because it is unaccustomed to structure. It whispers, rest today, start tomorrow. It's not the right time. These are not truths, they are tests. The mind will always invent reasons to avoid effort because it wants comfort, not growth. But each time you act in spite of resistance, you weaken its power. You teach your brain that discipline is safe, that discomfort is not danger. Slowly, the inner battle grows quieter. The task that once required immense willpower begins to feel natural. The body adapts, the mind follows, and what was once difficult becomes effortless. That is the invisible magic of consistency. The transformation happens so gradually that one day you wake up and realize you have become the kind of person who simply does what needs to be done without debate. Think of consistency as a conversation between who you are and who you are becoming. Each choice you make is a message to your future self. When you choose effort over ease, when you choose focus over distraction, when you choose persistence over excuses, you are telling your future self, I'm building something you can be proud of. But when you choose to break your word, when you choose comfort over commitment, you are stealing from the future, taking from yourself the life you could have lived. Every decision adds up. Every repeated behavior shapes your destiny. You cannot escape the consequences of what you practice, good or bad. That is the law of life. You become what you consistently do. The truth is, consistency requires love, not love for the result, but love for the process. Most people are driven by the desire to reach the goal. They say, I will work hard until I get there. But the moment progress slows, they lose faith. The disciplined mind says, I will work hard because this is who I am. They fall in love with the effort itself. They find joy in the small victories, the early mornings, the extra mile, the quiet moments of persistence when no one is watching. When you love the process, consistency becomes effortless. The journey itself becomes the reward. You must also understand that consistency is not built in bursts of inspiration, but in moments of decision. Every day, there will be temptations to quit, not in dramatic ways, but in small, subtle ways. The temptation to delay, to lower the standard, to tell yourself it doesn't matter. But those small choices matter most. Because every time you give in, you strengthen your habit of quitting. Every time you stay firm, you strengthen your habit of persistence. The person you are becoming is being shaped not in grand moments, but in those quiet, private choices when no one will ever know. Consistency is not about performing for the world, it's about keeping promises to yourself. Consistency is also an act of faith. You show up even when you can't see the reward, because you believe it's coming. You act with discipline, even when there's no immediate proof that it's working. You keep sowing seeds even when the soil looks barren. That faith is what separates those who succeed from those who surrender. The path of progress is slow, almost invisible at times. You won't see the transformation daily, but one day you will see everything change at once. The results will appear suddenly, but they were being built quietly all along. Every repetition, every sacrifice, every choice was laying a brick in the foundation of your future. Consistency also teaches humility. It reminds you that greatness is not built in moments of glory, but in seasons of unseen effort. The world applauds success, but it rarely honors persistence. It sees the finished result, not the lonely nights of struggle behind it. But those who have lived it know, Consistency is the true test of character. Anyone can start when they're inspired. Few can continue when they're exhausted, uncertain, and unseen. The difference between the dreamer and the door is not talent, not luck, not even intelligence. It is the simple, stubborn decision to keep going when the world goes silent. You must stop waiting for motivation and start relying on your word. Motivation fades, but integrity lasts. When you tell yourself you'll do something and you do it, you build an unshakable self-image. You begin to trust yourself completely. That trust becomes your greatest source of strength, because a person who keeps promises to themselves can accomplish anything. The mind becomes quiet. The doubt fades. You stop negotiating with weakness because your word has become law. You know you will do what you said you would do, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. One day, you'll look back on the path you've walked and realize that it wasn't the big moments that shaped you. It was the small, consistent actions repeated thousands of times. The early mornings, the late nights, the moments you stayed when you wanted to quit. You'll see that your life didn't change overnight. It changed quietly, one decision at a time. That is the true reward of consistency, not just the success it creates, but the person it makes you become. You'll no longer chase perfection or validation, because you'll know that consistency itself is power. It's the silent rhythm of success, the heartbeat of every great life. It's the invisible force that turns dreams into reality, not through luck or talent, but through the steady, relentless persistence of showing up. Every single day, no matter what. You cannot expect clarity in life if your mind is full of noise. The mind is a powerful tool, but when left disorganized, it becomes your greatest enemy. It races from one thought to another, drowning you in distractions, fears, and desires that pull you in 100 directions. Most people live their entire lives with a cluttered mind, overthinking, comparing, doubting, and replaying past mistakes. They wonder why peace feels so distant, why success feels so complicated. It's not because they lack talent or intelligence, it's because their energy is scattered. You cannot build a powerful life with a chaotic mind. You must first learn to master the inner world before you can conquer the outer one. To organize your mind, you must first understand what fills it. Every day you are bombarded with noise, opinions, expectations, failures, endless streams of information. Your mind becomes like a room filled with too many voices, all speaking at once, none of them clear. You try to think, but your own thoughts are buried under the weight of the world's noise. The first step is silence. Not the silence of sound, but the silence of focus. You must learn to quiet the unnecessary so that the essential can speak. Clarity does not come from more thinking. It comes from less noise. It comes from deciding what deserves your attention and what does not. Most people never take time to listen to their own minds. They react to life instead of directing it. They wake up and immediately hand their attention to the world, to notifications, conversations, and obligations. Their minds become slaves to chaos. But if you wish to organize your mind, you must begin each day in stillness. You must sit with yourself, not to escape the world, but to build control over it. When you begin the day by directing your thoughts, you take command of your inner space. You decide what kind of day it will be, instead of letting the world decide for you. The more you practice this, the more your mind begins to obey your will. An organized mind is not one that never feels doubt or distraction, but one that knows how to return to focus. You will always face noise, temptations, stress, chaos, but discipline teaches you to filter. Every thought that enters your mind is like a seed. Some grow into strength, others into fear. Most people water their fears more than their faith. They replay failures more than they visualize success. The disciplined person does the opposite. They know that thoughts are powerful, that energy flows where attention goes, so they choose their focus carefully. They feed the thoughts that empower them and starve the ones that weaken them. Organizing your mind also means aligning it with purpose. Without purpose, your thoughts have no direction. You waste mental energy on things that do not move you forward. Purpose acts as a compass. It filters what matters from what doesn't. When your mind knows your why, it automatically begins to ignore distractions. Purpose simplifies life. It tells your brain what to hold on to and what to release. But purpose doesn't appear by accident. It is built through reflection, through honest questions about what truly matters to you. When you know your purpose, your mind becomes still because it finally has a path to walk. Discipline plays a key role in mental organization. Every time you choose structure over chaos, you are training your mind to follow order. Routine is not a prison. It is freedom. A scattered life drains your energy because your brain constantly switches focus. A disciplined life frees energy because it turns good habits into automatic patterns. Your mind loves efficiency. It wants to repeat what you practice most. So, if you practice confusion, your brain becomes comfortable with it. But if you practice clarity, your brain learns to operate in calmness even in chaos. The more you stay consistent with your rituals, your work, your reflection, your rest, the stronger your mental foundation becomes. You must also clear your mental clutter, the old stories, regrets, and fears that occupy space in your mind. The mind cannot move forward if it is chained to the past. Every time you replay a mistake or a loss, you reinforce its power. The past is meant to teach you, not trap you. To organize your mind, you must let go of what no longer serves you. Forgive yourself for what you did not know then. Forgive others for what they could not give you. Every time you release an old burden, you reclaim mental space for growth. The more you carry, the heavier your thoughts become. But when you let go, you feel light, and that lightness is what gives birth to clarity. To truly organize your mind, you must become intentional with what you consume. Your environment feeds your brain. The people you talk to, the media you absorb, the thoughts you entertain. If you surround yourself with negativity, your mind will reflect it. If you feed it with purpose, it will align with it. The mind mirrors its inputs. Be mindful of what enters your space, because what enters your space enters your soul. Choose books, conversations, and environments that inspire clarity and strength. Protect your mental energy like you would protect a treasure, because it is one. An organized mind is also one that knows when to rest. The world glorifies constant movement, but the mind grows stronger in stillness. You cannot expect clarity from a tired mind. Rest is not a weakness, it is a reset. It allows the mind to process, to heal, to create new connections. The most disciplined people know when to stop. They understand that their best thoughts do not come from exhaustion, but from renewal. When your mind is rested, your thoughts become sharp, your emotions balanced, your focus unshakable. As you learn to organize your mind, life itself begins to organize around you. You make clearer decisions. You waste less energy on what doesn't matter. You stop reacting to everything and start responding with intention. You feel grounded, focused, and calm even in uncertainty. The chaos of the world no longer controls you because the world inside you is at peace. That peace is not accidental, it is earned. It is the reward for those who take time each day to align their thoughts, to silence distractions, to feed their minds with discipline and purpose. The more organized your mind becomes, the more powerful you become. You stop chasing control outside because you have found it within. That is the secret to mastery. When your mind is clear, your path becomes clear. The storms of life will still come, but an organized mind stands unshaken. It moves with purpose, it thinks with precision, it acts with strength. And that strength, that quiet clarity, is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders of their own destiny.